I'm Bryce Mack, Special Agent Supervisor in our Intelligence Unit. I'm joined today by Bill Spring. Today, Bill and I are going to present our 2024 Strategic Intel Review. We do this each year to provide some statistics on the good work the Gambling Commission does that protects the public and ensures gambling is legal and honest. The way we've got it structured is we're going to start off with some agency-wide stats. Then we're going to dive into some crime-specific statistics. Then we'll talk about some of our cooperative efforts and some trends that we've seen. And lastly, we're going to conclude with some conclusions and recommendations. With that said, we'll just go ahead and jump right into the stats, and I'll turn it over to Bill, and he'll run you through them. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Special Agent Bill Spring, and I'm going to be going over, I'm an analyst with the Gambling Commission, and I'll be going through the analytical strategic stats itself. So the first slide right here, this slide illustrates the increase in total cases for the last 5 years, including the rise in administrative cases. But if you notice in the criminal cases, you can see a decrease. This is a slight decrease over the years. This has nothing to do with criminal cases of crimes not being committed. This just happens to be that criminal cases in the investigation department, what we see itself is that these house bank or where all these we do our investigation are doing their part and doing their portion of actually disrupting criminal activity within their establishments, which is perfect. Administrative cases increase because this involves getting out and doing more inspections and getting out there, and it consists of public service community to the individuals, house banks, society, and working with tribal communities itself. So we'll constantly see an increase every year in administrative. What we want to see is that criminal case decrease overall each year. All right, next slides we're looking at too. So the top slide itself, this is our 3 categories when we put our cases into our system. We look at inspection reviews. Those are mostly administrative cases itself. We have investigation agent initiated and investigation complaints. So complaints are coming through our complaint hotline, coming through direct complaints to agents itself, which initiates cases for those, or agency initiated means that we agents have took the initiative to move forward on a criminal case or on an administrative case itself to open up. Something has led to another aspect of a criminal or administrative case to open. You can see that once again, and like I said, administrative cases will continue to increase over the years. You can see from 2023 to 2024, the increase in inspection review. That means we're getting more businesses, house bank card rooms. We're increasing our inspections with the tribal communities and continuing doing our work. Agents are working hard and diligent out there. When you come to the 2024 licensed, unlicensed case count, that's our bottom slide or bottom graph itself. This just illustrates for you to see where we're looking at our cases are occurring. Now, this could be a case that involves an establishment that has a license or an individual that has a license with the Gambling Commission, compared to unlicensed authorities, which consist of an illegal raffle or portion of some off entity that does not have a license that we look into. This can include also internet gambling or any crimes online that does not affiliate with the Washington State Gambling Commission. Let's see here. All right, so on this one, this is our dispositions. This one I wanted to illustrate to you. You can see for the last 2 years where we're looking at our final dispositions when we close our cases. What is our outcome looking at? Our agents come to a conclusion with the supervisors, and when we do our final outcome. You can see that from 2023 to 2024, verbal warnings has increased with close to 200 overall. That's just getting out there and giving them the warning and making sure they're well known and what's going on with their first warning. The results of having a second violation after that are very slim. Usually that first warning from the agents itself has usually eliminates any additional criminal activity afterwards, but can't say that it fully eliminates, but at least it eliminates most of the objective. Looking at inspections without violations is another increase. All right, this is involved with our administrative inspection reviews. There's no violation involved with it. It just continues. But overall, you can see that throughout the years, the criminal aspect of cases, criminal charges, they're all pretty much stays similar from each year, with no major addition or major hiccups or increases. All right, top cities from 2024. Main thing was in 2023, when we listed the top 25 cities, Tukwila was #1 overall. But this year, Tacoma took over the top. These are cases that amount, so total cases. So in 2024, Tacoma had 80 total cases that was administrated into the system that we investigated into. But usually you see Tukwila, Renton. Those are your hot spot areas of area around that King County area. But for Tacoma to Tyka, that was a big change for us. We should possibly see that going down next year, but we'll see what the end of the year looks like. All right, this is a heat map. We wanted to show you the counties itself. You can see where the hottest spots are. Those are really the dark red areas. Snohomish, King County, Pierce County, Thurston, all right, and Clark County. So you look at that I-5 corridor, go in the major city areas. That's where your majority of your criminal or administrative or criminal actions are happening, that we had to open cases on. One of the big jump also was out in Yakima from last year to this year. Yakima increased. They went from orange to a light red this year, so we started seeing more activity happening in that county itself. This case right here, so this is looking at, I wanted to break down our top 10 criminal, and then there'll be a next slide, we'll talk about our administrative cases, but you can see our top 10 criminal cases that we investigated last year was for illegal raffles. Majority of these were raffles that were complaints, or we were able to identify through intelligence, through social media aspects. These are being posted online or were informed to us of just local businesses holding a raffle within their area without having to go through the process of actually doing their the diligency of finding out if they can hold a raffle or not. So most of these were all verbal warnings, resulting of the dispositions itself, and then theft right underneath it. These were considered we considered our theft to be combined with bet pinching, bet capping, any of those card thefts. Those are the thefts that we look into. Cheating the same way. We combined subcategories together, to meeting to cheating, counterfeit. Those four right there have been on a consistent each year as being the top four criminal cases that we were starting to see. And then when we look at case locations, you can see majority of the time that our criminal cases that we're getting from house bank card rooms, that they're being diligent and catching these things happening within their establishments and getting our agents involved. We can see that's where majority of our time that our agents are really focused on is making for criminal actions happening there. All right, so for administrative, top things our agents do are out there doing inspections and evaluations. So those are always going to be our top 10, our top two things. But once they do their inspection and evaluations, then they come into the fact that there might be operational violations within that inspection that they notice. So that becomes into when they start doing their administrative cases, those things open up. Same thing with self-exclusion. That tends to be in tribal complaints. Those five right there will always be our top five administrative cases that we open up on. Doesn't mean that they're all negative in portion, but they are what our agents do focus solely on when it comes to administrative actions. And then once you could see for administrative stuff, we have more when we're looking between house, bank, food, drink established, and tribal, which are main licensee establishments itself. You can see where our inspections are more, where the tribal agents will have more inspections than the regulatory agents in certain areas. So they're going to have more cases. So it doesn't mean that there's more issues or anything. These are all normal cost down to where their locations are at. All right, license applications. Want to highlight this so you can see that from 23 to 24, the increase in, or sorry, correction, the decrease from licensee applications from 23 to 24. Now, from tribal to individual, you can see that there's been drop with the new licensee coming up here in June, where the new establishments for licenses, we should see the actual increase. Hopefully in 2025, it should be changed again. So this really predicts, if you looked at 2022, the year, the numbers were a decrease, and then 23 they jumped up, and just the years that they needed licensed out. And this we wanted to really highlight was the top agency complaints that we receive. So this is through the agency website itself. So number one we have is tribal complaints. Now, when we talk about tribal complaints, it can come down to a simple thing as this casino is not allowing to do something, or not allowing me to have a drink or something like that. It could be anywhere that involves anything with the tribal casinos. They put a complaint in and it goes through just in the systems itself. So it hits all the tribals and it's all combined into one complaint system. All right, now when it comes to operational violations, these are complaints against both house, bank, card rooms, and bar establishments. They can be in operational violations. Same thing with self-exclusion. But you can see where our solely focused when we get our complaints in were the highlighted areas. These top three, tribal complaints, operational violations, self-exclusions, will all continues to be our top three of everything that we receive. Everything after that is what we see gradual increase or decrease throughout the years. When we look at criminal activity, if there is any action, or what our other agents are looking at, the sole focus is going to be at the bottom area and see where those increase and decrease, where we can make a major effect in.
Okay, this next slide focuses on our self-exclusion program. So for those of you that don't know, gambling self-exclusion program, it's a voluntary process that allows individuals to ban themselves from gambling venues in an effort to help manage and overcome gambling addiction. So as you can see from this graph, we started it in 2022, partway through the year. During the first full year in 23 is where we had the big spike, 445 cases. A lot of people showing up self-excluding. It did drop quite a bit here in 2024. The other thing to note is in 2024, we did have 122 self-exclusion cases. And in those cases, Sometimes money is confiscated, and the total amount for 24 was over 20,000 confiscated, and those funds were actually turned over to the healthcare authority. All right, our next slide, this is for our intelligence unit. The first graph here shows the requests we get from our own special agents. We assist them with their casework. So some examples of this might be to find out where someone's located, to try and find maybe a phone number, or pulling their criminal history. So as you can see, over the last 3 years, we completed almost 500 requests. One thing to keep in mind is that's just with 2 special agent analysts. So that's just Bill and our other special agent doing over 500 requests over the last few years. So there's a lot of great work that they're doing. The next graph that shows the number of bulletins we distributed. So these bulletins are informational reports we send out on topics like officer safety alerts, or to let stakeholders know to be aware of a particular matter, such as fraudulent activities. As you can see, we had over 400 of those that went out the last 3 years, and they have progressively increased. Graph 3 there, that's the last graph on the right. This is one of the measures that we pride ourselves on, and that's assisting outside law enforcement. So some of the examples would be responding to requests from outside law enforcement for player tracking, possibly video surveillance, or trying to identify somebody for law enforcement, to identify a person or a vehicle. And as you can see, that number has very steadily ticked up, and we hope to continue that trend into 2025. This next slide just highlights the trend and the continuation of the violent crime that continues in 2024. In 23, there was also a lot of this type of crime, and just kind of showing that the crime is continuing. We created a timeline here that captures some of the more significant crimes. And as you can see here, there were instances of follow home robberies, which we had in prior years, attempted burglaries, fights, shootings. So the violent crime continues. We don't see the trend getting necessarily better. At best, we believe it will just stay constant. So one of the things we have been very focused on are partnerships that we have created. We're always looking to create additional partnerships. Um, the partnerships, they foster the sharing of the information, and that sharing of information, it then translates into speeding up investigations. It translates into promoting public safety. And then within the partnerships, it promotes kind of that trust amongst each other. So in 2024, we did have a lot of good cooperative success stories with our tribal law enforcement and licensee partners. Just a couple examples to share with you anecdotally. One instance, our unit put together a bulletin trying to identify subjects who were committing fraud at one of our house bank card rooms. We put out a bulletin, and one of our tribal partners responded and recognized the individual because they had some similar issues going on at their casino. And so ultimately, that information sharing led us to ID those folks and pass the information along to the local law enforcement that was working the case. We've also had several assists, like I kind of talked about before, with local law enforcement. They get a hold of us, they provide us with a picture of a suspect or a particular vehicle that they need help trying to identify. We're able to then turn that around, send it out to our partners, and we've had several instances where they're able to get a positive identification, and then we can relay that information back over to the law enforcement detective, so that they can then complete and finish their investigation. So just wanted to highlight there's a lot of good cooperation going on, and we hope to just continue and grow that trend moving forward. Um, this slide focuses on a trend that we've seen over the last couple years, and it's pull tab fraud. So we have seen the rise of this counterfeit pull tabs. They're very prevalent in the Thurston, Pierce, King, Snow County areas. We did see it in 23, and it carries right on into 24. And what this entails is a suspect will take an already open pull tab that's typically not worth anything, and then they superimpose the winning symbol from the game flare onto this already opened pull tab. And we believe they're probably likely printing it themselves, at home or at a business or something of that nature. Then the suspect goes back to the licensee and they try and redeem it for a large prize that matches up with the game flare. And if the bartender is busy and isn't paying attention and doesn't check, there's something called the secondary win code that should match the original game. And if they don't check that, there is a chance that they could, have a payout, and that person would get away with fraud. So we have seen this trend. We have put out information bulletins on this. We've done a couple of public service announcements for stakeholders. And so I think getting that awareness out is now making the stakeholders very aware of what's going on, and hopefully we can stamp that out. Was there a question?
Chris, please continue at this point.
Thank you. Okay, next slide. Okay, another trend we've seen is cyber attacks. We had two in 2024, March 6th and April 5th. They did target our Washington State casinos, tribal facilities. The first facility, because of the attack, closed for 2 days. Patrons were unable to access ATMs and other money services. The second closed down that casino for 3 weeks to do the investigation. So this trend, it's not unique to Washington. It's occurred in other states, Nevada, Illinois, to name a couple. It's likely only to get worse based on just cyber attack projections. It's probably only going to escalate. So it's something that we are very mindful of and are monitoring. And then that brings us to our final slide, our conclusions and recommendations. So what we've noticed is King County, the I-5 corridor, they're still obviously the epicenter for the violent crime and overall cases, but we have noticed some spread to Yakima County and Clark County. We have seen an uptick there. As mentioned, we've seen an uptick in fraudulent pull tabs, and we have seen cyber attacks on the rise. Now, recommendations, we're trying to get more education and awareness out to stakeholders regarding these counterfeit pull tabs. And one of the things that our unit, we talked about partnerships, obviously with the proliferation of gambling becoming legalized in other states, with regard to sports wagering and iGaming, we are very focused on creating more partnerships with outside entities like other states. And just that, we feel like that will help us be very proactive and stay informed of the different trends that they are seeing so that we can stay ahead of the curve. With that, that's what we have prepared for you today. We're happy to take any questions, and we appreciate your time.
Perfect, thank you. Do any of the commissioners or ex officios have any questions? I have one question. In the top 10 criminal case types, one of them is listed as professional gambling. What's meant by that, or what kind of case would that be?
So when we're looking at professional gambling, we're looking at it eliminates to, let's say you're looking at sports betting, online sports betting, an online sports betting site can be considered professional gambling because of how much transactions are going through it itself. But also professional gambling can be considered to an individual that is continuing getting over the normal amount of what a normal gambler would see. Bryce, do you want to help on that portion on an individual? I'm really focused myself, as an analyst, onto the online portion of that criminal action of it.
Yeah, when we pull statistics, so we're pulling from our case reporting system. So a lot of it is what an agent necessarily will enter as their type of case. So professional gambling is going to encompass a lot of different things. It could be, some kind of a bar tavern that's operating an illegal type of game, or possibly a gambling machine. That would all qualify under professional gambling. And so the agent may categorize that as a professional gambling type of case. So it covers a number of different things.
Great, thank you. And then one more question. You say Yakima is on the rise. Have more card rooms opened there, or is it just the same ones that is just getting worse?
Yeah, we've seen, specific, there's some house bank card rooms that have had some elevated activity over there that we've noticed, that's been on the rise. So, and Yakima, it's a pretty, it's a fairly populated area, and there's some things going on there. So it's not so much that it's a big surprise, but, it's just noted that that's an area, when we talk about and think about deploying resources, that we might need to focus on a little bit more.
Got it, thank you. And Senator Conway, it looks like you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
No worries. Sorry about that.
I apologize the last time around, but somehow I was being treated as a guest, not a participant here. But my question is on youth and whether or not there's been any uptick in youth being engaged in gambling, and whether your facility is working on that. I know sports betting, of course, probably is very attractive to all youth. And I'm curious about whether or not your commission is looking into that potential for, and whether there has been evidence of that.
I'll speak to the fact that we do have different checks that we've done in the past, and probably will in the future. If you're talking about, people that are underage that are trying to enter facilities.
Savannah Van Leuven Smith or Savannah.
So we do have some proactive measures that we will do as far as conducting those type of proactive compliance type of inspections, to make sure that those licensees are doing their job to prevent the underage contingency from entering those facilities and participating.
I know that, there's such a huge ability on the internet side to make yourself feel like you're in a different state that has different rules in terms of sports betting. I'm just curious how we are enforcing that. I mean, we were made aware of it when we were doing other kinds of sports betting venues, but anyway, thank you. To me, it's the internet. It's the internet and access to the internet and ability to use the internet and the ability to make yourself feel like you're in another state when you're betting. I mean, it just seems like there's an awful lot of potential there for abuse. But
yeah, and I can speak to the internet. We have done tests in the past where we've actually used a VPN to try and relocate ourselves, to test to make sure that certain geofences are accurate. We have done those tests, and we do currently have, I can't speak to them because they're active investigations, but we are actively looking into illegal online gambling and taking appropriate action.